Dear students, welcome to our YouTube channel Vidya for Success. Yes, now let us study the structure of monocotyledonous seed. Yes, in the last video we discussed about the dicot seed, right? So now let us study about monocot seed. So in the monocot seed, the prominent structure can be seen as endosperm. What do you mean by endosperm? Endosperm is the nutritive tissue, right? So in most of the monocotyledonous seed, endosperm will be present. So there are exception cases. So the best example of monocot seed that does not show endosperm is orchid, right? So in the orchid plants, orchid is a monocot plant. In this plant, the seed does not consist of endosperm. So because of the absence of endosperm, the seed is called as non-endospermic seed, right? So most of the monocotyledonous seeds are endospermous and only few are non-endospermous seeds. You can have a look into the structure of monocotyledonous seed. So this is the maize seed. So maize is a monocot plant, right? So this is the example of monocotyledonous seed. So the name of this seed is maize seed. So we can notice the different parts here, right? So the outermost coat is called as seed coat, and very next to that we can see endosperm, because most of the monocotyledonous seed shows the presence of endosperm. And you can see the presence of one cotyledon that is named as scutellum. Then we can also see the embryo, where we can see the embryonal axis consists of two ends, plumule and radicle. And also we can notice some of the new structures, that is a coleoptile and coleorhiza. So these are the different parts of monocotyledonous seed. So let us study one by one. So the outermost covering of the seed, monocotyledon seed, is seed coat. Yes, we studied in the dicot seed that there are two layers of seed coat will be present, outer testa and inner tegmen. Clear? So in case of monocot seed, the seed coat is membranous. Just it is like a membrane, and it is generally fused with fruit wall. So there is no thick fruit wall in case of monocotyledonous seed. So fruit wall is very thin in the maize, and it is closely get attached with the seed coat, right? So this is what the characteristic feature of the outer membrane. Outer seed coat is called as a membranous structure, and it is generally fused with a fruit wall. Then if you come to the seed, the inner structure of the seed, a prominent structure we can notice is endosperm. So endosperm is bulky and stores food. So lots of food material is get stored in the endosperm. So that when the structure is storing the food material, the main function that is going to perform is it nourishes the developing embryo, right? So there is a endosperm is present, it is bulky and it stores food material. And we can see there is a thin layer present just outside the endosperm, right? So endosperm surrounded by a proteinaceous layer. So that proteinaceous layer is named as aileron layer, right? So aileron layer is the outer wall of endosperm. So what is the function of aileron layer? So aileron layer is a proteinaceous covering of the endosperm. So it separates the endosperm from the embryo, right? So this is a very important concept. So the outermost proteinaceous layer present to the endosperm is named as aileron layer. And at one corner of the endosperm, we can notice the presence of embryo, right? So embryo consists of two major parts. One is cotyledon and another one is embryonal axis. So this we have already studied when we come across with the dicot seed, right? So embryo consists of cotyledon and embryonal axis, right? So in the monocotyledonous seed, the embryo is small and that is situated in a groove at one end of the endosperm. So at one end of the endosperm, we can see the presence of embryo, right? So how many cotyledons are present in the embryo? Because it is a monocotyledonous seed, it consists of only one cotyledon. Mono is nothing but how much? One, right? So one cotyledon is present in the embryo, that is named as scutellum. Understood? So one large shield shaped cotyledon will be present in the monocot seed, that is named as scutellum. Then a short axis will be present, that is named as embryonal axis, that consists of two ends. One is plumule and another one is radicle. So plumule is the one end of the embryonal axis and the another end is called as radicle. And these two ends of the embryonal axis leads to the formation of shoot system on the aerial region and the formation of root system towards the soil. Clear? And one more very important thing we need to understand here is plumule and radicle in the monocot seed enclosed in a sheath. So there is a sheath-like structure that completely encloses the plumule and radicle, right? So one of the sheath that encloses the plumule of the embryo is named as coleoptile. So this is very important terminology you need to practice. So coleoptile is the sheath-like structure that covers the plumule of embryonal axis. Then coleoptile is the one more sheath that covers the radicle, right? So there is a protective sheath will be present in the embryo in order to cover the embryonal axis. So towards the plumule we can see coleoptile and towards the radicle we can see coleorhiza. Understood? So this is about the complete structure of monocotyledonous seed. Right? So what are the things we have discussed in the monocotyledonous seed? So the prominent region we can see in the monocotyledonous seed is endosperm. So endosperm occupies the major portion of the seed and that is covered by a proteinaceous layer called as an aleuron layer. So this aleuron layer separates the embryo from the endosperm, right? So the embryo consists of cotyledon and embryonal axis. So what is the number of cotyledon here? Only one cotyledon will be present here, that is named as scutellum. And embryonal axis consists of two ends, plumule and radicle. Plumule is covered by a sheath called as coleoptile and radicle is covered by a sheath called as coleorhiza. So children, in this particular concept you have to practice the diagram, right? And you should also learn the description because this is very important 5 marks concept. Yes children, so far in this lesson we have discussed different morphological features of the flowering plant. So we studied about the characteristic feature of root and its modification, stem characters and modification, leaf characters and modifications, arrangement of leaves, venation, and we also studied about the inflorescence, the floral parts and different conditions of the floral parts. So all these things are nothing but the morphological features, right? So morphological features are considered as a criteria for the classification of plants. So when we know properly about the morphological feature, we can somehow judge the category of that particular plant. Suppose you have one plant in your hand, means you should be able to describe each and every part of that flowering plant. Say for example, you should be able to write the root system, whether it is it consists of taproot system or fibrous root system, or is it showing any root modification, and you should be able to explain the stem and stem modification and arrangement of leaves, kind of venation and the kind of inflorescence and the number of calyx, arrangement of calyx, number of petals in the corolla, arrangement of petals, and number of stamens and its condition. So like this, each and everything we should be able to describe, right? So when we are describing the root system, the shoot system, like when we are describing about the stem and leaf, so those characters are considered to be a vegetative characters, right? So vegetative characters consist of the characteristic feature of root, stem and leaves. And the one more part of the morphological feature is the floral character. So floral character in the sense inflorescence and the floral part, right? And finally, we are going to represent the floral diagram and the floral formula. What do you mean by this floral formula and floral diagram? We are expressing the floral condition in a diagrammatic representation. So when we are expressing the floral character in a diagrammatic way, that is called as a floral diagram. And also we can express the floral condition, the floral character, by using a formula. So that is nothing but the floral formula. So by when we look into the floral formula and floral diagram, we can judge the characteristic feature of the flower. So that is nothing but semi-technical description of a flowering plant. So when we are expressing the floral character in a simplified way, that means in one simple formula or in a diagrammatic representation, so that will help us to understand the condition of the flower in that particular plant. So how in the mathematics we use a formula to solve some of the problems. In a similar way, here we are using the floral formula to understand the condition of the flower, that means the characteristic feature of the flower. Clear? So in order to write the floral formula, we need symbols. We can't write each and every oral in a word, right? So formula is a simplified way of expressing the floral character. So in order to write this floral formula, we need some symbols. So here we are going to study which symbols are used for which oral of the flower. That is known as semi-technical description of a typical flowering plant. So morphological features are very important to describe the flowering plant. So when we are representing the floral character by a formula, that need symbols. So now let us study the symbols used for different conditions and different orals of the flower. So in order to express the bracteate condition of the flower, we use a symbol that is capital B small r. So BR is the symbol used for bracteate flower. So if the bract is present to the flower, that is called as bracteate flower, right? Suppose if it is absent, if the bract is absent, that condition of the flower is called as ebracteate. Clear? So for ebracteate, we use the symbol capital E, then BR. Then what is the symbol used for calyx? Calyx is represented by a capital K. Capital K is used for calyx. Then corolla is represented by a symbol capital C. Then perianth is represented by a symbol capital P. So capital P is nothing but what? Perianth. Perianth is nothing but undifferentiated calyx and corolla. Then let us come to the androecium. Androecium is in male reproductive unit. It is represented by capital A. Then gynoecium is a female reproductive unit. It is represented by the symbol capital G. Right? And also we have studied different conditions of female reproductive unit. That means a superior ovary, inferior ovary. So those are also represented by some of the symbol. If the gynoecium is superior, that can be represented by the symbol capital G. Below that we have to put one line, right? Then inferior ovary. Inferior ovary is represented by this symbol capital G. Above that we have to write one line, right? So these are the some symbols. Then there are as the actinomorphic condition of the flower is represented by this symbol. So, circle within that plus symbol. So, this is the actinomorphic symmetry. Then, one more type of symmetry is zygomorphic symmetry. So, if the flower is showing the zygomorphic symmetry, that is represented by percentage symbol, right? Then, so based on the number of reproductive orals, the flower can be differentiated into bisexual flower or unisexual flower. So, the symbol we used to represent the bisexual flower is circle, above that one arrow mark, just below that plus symbol. Then, if you come to the unisexual flower, the female flowers are represented by the symbol circle, below that plus symbol, and the male flower is represented by the symbol circle, above that arrow mark. So, these are the some sets of symbols used to write the floral formula. And just have a look into the diagram what I have displayed on the screen. So, that is a actual floral diagram of the plant mustard, right? And just below that we have written the floral formula by using the symbols, right? So, by looking into the diagram, floral diagram, we can understand the arrangement of sepals, petals, number of androecium and position of androecium, and in the number of carpels. So, all this information we can understand just by looking into the floral diagram, right? So, let me explain the things of the floral diagram. So, just you look into the first oral. So, the first oral of the flower is calyx, right? So, the first oral is written in the green shade. So, the number of sepals in the calyx are 4. So, that they have written 4 units in the first oral, right? And while writing the calyx and corolla, we should first understand the kind of arrangement. That means we have to understand what is the type of estivation. So, in the mustard flower, the calyx is showing imbricate estivation. So, there are 4 sepals are present, they are showing the imbricate estivation. Then very next to the calyx, we have corolla. So, the corolla in the mustard plant showing 4 petals. They are arranged in valvet estivation. The kind of estivation of corolla is valvet estivation. So, that we have to write 4 petals. They should be arranged in valvet estivation. Then let us move to the third oral. Third oral is androecium, that is made out of number of stamens, right? So, there are 6 stamens are present. 4 stamens they are arranged in one ring, and 2 stamens they are present very near to the petals, right? And the last oral, the fourth oral is female reproductive unit, that is the gynoecium. Gynoecium made out of how many carpels? 2 carpels are present. So, both the carpels are fused, right? And the position of ovary is superior. So, superior position we can't show in the this one floral diagram. So, that in order to express those things, we use the floral formula, right? So, the floral formula is written like this. So, the plus symbol within the circle represents actinomorphic symmetry. So, the symmetry of the flower is actinomorphic. Then the flower is bisexual. Bisexual symbol is used, and the first oral is calyx. Calyx represented by the symbol K. What are the number of units of calyx? The 4 units are there. So, 2 are present, 2 sepals are present completely towards the inner side, and remaining 2 are present completely towards the outside. So, 2 plus 2, right. So, corolla is represented by C letter, and the number of petals are 4 in 4. So, that we have to write 4 as it is. Then androecium. So, androecium, how many stamens are present? 6 stamens are present, right. So, what is the symbol of androecium? Capital A. 2 stamens are present towards the corolla. So that we have to write 2 plus 4. So 4 stamens, they form one ring-like structure, and the two stamens, they are present towards the corolla. Then gynoecium. Gynoecium is a female reproductive unit. So it is of superior ovary. So the symbol superior ovary you have to write. Then the number of carpels are 2. They are fused. Syncarpus. So that you have to write the number in bracket. That means that the carpels are fused. Right. So this is how, by using the simple formula, we can express the entire floral characteristic feature. So which characters are not possible to express in the floral diagram, that can be expressed by using the floral formula. Right. Yes. In the next class, we can understand the description of plants in a better way by studying the families. Thank you.